There was a boy who waited for me every single day for 8 years, and I never once thanked him for it. The strange part is, I didn't even realize he was doing it. Not until it was too late. Not until we were grown up. Not until life had scattered us in different directions. And by then, the waiting had already ended. I grew up in a small Australian town called Blue Gum Creek, the kind of place where every street looked familiar, where everyone knew your parents, where the school principal somehow knew what you'd done before you even got home. It wasn't a remarkable town, at least that's what I thought back then. There was a primary school, a cricket oval, a bakery that smelled like heaven every morning, and a row of gum trees that lined the road leading home. That road was the centre of our universe. Every afternoon, hundreds of kids poured through the school gates. Some rode bikes, some walked, some ran, and somewhere in that crowd was my best friend, Oliver. Oliver wasn't the funniest kid, or the smartest, or the bravest. He wasn't the kid everyone remembered. He was just Oliver. The kind of person who never needed attention, the kind of person who quietly made life better without anyone noticing. Back then, I didn't understand how rare that was. Every afternoon, the final bell would ring and the school gates would fill with kids heading home, and somewhere among them, Oliver would be waiting for me. Same spot, same crooked smile. You ready? Then we'd walk home together. I never thought about it. Why would I? When you're 10 years old, you assume life will always stay exactly the same. Friends will always be there, parents will always be there, school will always be there. You don't realise you're living inside memories while they're being made. Some afternoons we'd stop at the creek, some afternoons we'd kick a footy, some afternoons we'd spend 20 minutes arguing about absolutely nothing. Who was better, Shane Warne or Glenn McGrath, Batman or Superman? Who would survive longest in the bush if civilization collapsed? Normal kid stuff. Pointless. Forgettable. Except it wasn't. One afternoon I got detention. Nothing serious. I talked too much in class. A shocking revelation to absolutely nobody. The detention lasted 30 minutes. By the time I left school, the place was almost empty. The buses were gone. Most kids had disappeared. The teachers were locking classrooms. I remember feeling annoyed. Then I walked through the gate and saw Oliver sitting on the fence waiting. I laughed. "What are you doing?" He shrugged. "Waiting?" "For 30 minutes?" "Yeah. Why?" He looked confused. "So we could walk home," as if there couldn't possibly be another answer. At 10 years old, that seemed normal. Today, it feels extraordinary. The next year, Mia joined our little group. Mia was the exact opposite of Oliver. Loud, fearless, always moving, always talking, always convincing us to do things that usually ended with someone getting into trouble. The three of us became inseparable, and no matter who finished late, Oliver somehow always seemed to be the one still waiting at the gate. One day, Mia asked him about it. We were sitting beside the creek eating chips after school. "Why do you always wait?" Oliver looked genuinely confused. "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean." He shrugged. "Because we're mates." That was it. No speech, no explanation, no dramatic moment, just 4 words. Because we're mates. The funny thing about childhood is that simple answers are enough. Nobody questioned it, nobody thought about it, life just continued. Then came year 7, the year everything started changing. Not all at once, slowly, quietly, like a tide moving in. Kids formed new groups, new interests, new priorities. The simple world we'd always known began shifting beneath our feet. The first sign was football training. I started staying after school twice a week. Oliver waited, every time, sometimes for nearly an hour. I told him he could leave. He never did. Then Mia joined drama club. Oliver waited for her too. Sometimes he sat outside reading comics. Sometimes he kicked a footy by himself. Sometimes he just sat there, waiting.
Nobody asked him to. Nobody expected him to. He just did. One afternoon, I finally said something. "Mate, seriously, you don't have to keep doing this." Oliver looked up. "Doing what?" "Waiting." He smiled. A small smile. The kind that disappeared almost immediately. "I know." Then he went back to kicking stones, as if that settled the conversation. And somehow, it did. Years passed. Primary school ended. The three of us moved to different high schools. For the first time in our lives, we weren't together every day. At first, we promised nothing would change. Everyone says that. Almost nobody means it. The phone calls became less frequent. The bike rides became rarer. The weekends filled with other things. Homework, sport, part-time jobs, life. One evening I was walking through town when I spotted Oliver sitting outside the bakery. Alone. He waved. Same crooked smile. We talked for nearly an hour. Before leaving, he said something strange. "Remember the gate? The school gate?" "Yeah." "What about it?" He laughed. "Nothing." Then he walked away. At the time, I didn't understand why he'd smiled like that. Years later, I would. When I was 17, my family moved to Brisbane. It happened quickly. Dad got a new job. The house sold. Boxes appeared. Life changed. I remember telling everyone. Teachers, neighbours, friends. Everyone except Oliver. Not intentionally. I just assumed there'd be time. There wasn't. 2 days before we left, I finally found him. He was sitting outside the bakery. Same spot. Same crooked smile. Except this time it looked forced. We talked about stupid things. Footy, school, the weather. Anything except what was actually happening. Then my mum called from the car. It was time to go. Oliver held out his hand. I shook it. Then he pulled me into a quick, awkward hug. The kind teenage boys pretend doesn't matter. "Take care, mate." "You too." Then I left. That was the last time I saw him. For years, life moved forward. University, work, relationships, bills, responsibilities. All the things that arrive once childhood ends. Blue Gum Creek became a memory, then a distant memory, then something I barely thought about at all, until one phone call changed everything. I was 32 when Mia called. We hadn't spoken in months. The moment I answered, I knew something was wrong. Her voice sounded different, quieter somehow. "Have you heard about Oliver?" My stomach dropped. No. There was silence. Then she told me.
Oliver had died. A heart condition nobody knew he had. One ordinary morning, one ordinary day, and then he was gone. I don't remember much after that. Only silence. A heavy silence, the kind that fills every room. A week later, I returned to Blue Gum Creek for the funeral. The town looked smaller than I remembered. The roads felt narrower. The buildings seemed closer together. But some things hadn't changed. The bakery still stood. The creek still flowed. The gum tree still lined the road. Time had moved on, but traces of childhood remained. After the service, Mia and I walked through town. Neither of us spoke much. Eventually, we reached the old primary school. The gates were locked. The playground was empty. The place looked smaller than it had in my memory. Funny how that happens. Then Mia stopped walking. "Do you remember?" "Remember what?" She pointed toward the gate, the exact spot where Oliver used to stand every day, waiting. For the first time in my life, I really saw it. Not the gate, not the school, not even the memory. I saw the years, thousands of afternoons, thousands of minutes, thousands of moments. A boy standing alone, waiting for his friends. Not because he had to, Not because anyone asked him to, because he wanted to, because to him, friendship was worth waiting for. My throat tightened, and suddenly dozens of forgotten memories came rushing back. The detention, the football training, the drama club, the rainy days, the hot days, the ordinary days. All those moments I never thought mattered. All those moments he gave us without asking for anything in return. Then Mia said something I'll never forget. Do you know why Oliver waited? Because we were mates. She shook her head. No. When Oliver was 9, his dad told him he'd pick him up after school. I frowned. What? He never came. The words landed like a punch. Oliver waited for nearly 2 hours. The caretaker locked the gates. His mum eventually found him sitting right there. She pointed to the exact spot beside the gate. I never knew that, I whispered. Almost nobody did. Mia looked down. A few years ago, I asked him why he always waited for people. What did he say? She smiled sadly. He said, no kid should ever have to wonder if someone's coming back for them. She wiped her eyes. And after we left, sometimes he'd still sit outside the bakery at school finishing time. Why? Because he believed somebody might need a friend to walk home with. That broke me.
Because suddenly I understood. Oliver wasn't waiting for a person. He was waiting for a possibility, for one more conversation, one more afternoon, one more chance to walk beside someone he cared about. Most people spend their lives looking for extraordinary things, big achievements, big moments, big memories. Oliver wasn't like that. He understood something the rest of us missed. Life is mostly made of ordinary afternoons and the people who choose to spend them with you. Before leaving town, I visited the bakery one last time. The owner recognized me immediately. We talked for a while. Then she pointed toward a table near the window. That was Oliver's spot. I looked at it. Empty, quiet, sunlight falling across the wood. And for a moment, I could almost see him there, waiting. Same crooked smile, same patience, same kindness. That was when I finally realized something. The kid who always waited wasn't really waiting for us. He was teaching us that friendship isn't measured by grand gestures. It's measured by presence, by showing up, by staying, by waiting when nobody expects you to. I never got the chance to thank him, or at least that's what I believed. The night after the funeral, I opened an old storage box I'd carried from house to house for years. Inside were school photos, cricket trophies, report cards, and an old cricket diary. I opened it, and a folded piece of paper slipped from between the pages. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Oliver's.
Suddenly, I remembered. The day I left Blue Gum Creek, he'd handed me the note just before I got into the car. I'd thanked him, tucked it inside my cricket diary, and forgotten about it. The diary had stayed buried in that box through school, university, jobs, relationships, and 15 years of moving from one home to another. My hands shook as I unfolded it. There were only 2 lines. In case we don't see each other again, thanks for never making me walk home alone. Oliver. I stared at those words for a long time, because the truth was, Oliver had it completely backwards. He thought I had stopped him from walking home alone. But all those years, it was him. He was the one who made sure none of us ever had to walk alone. So maybe this story is my thank you. To Oliver, to every friend who waited, to every person who stayed, to every kid standing at a gate somewhere right now, waiting for someone they care about. Because one day, without realizing it, you'll walk home together for the last time. Neither of you will know it's the last time. There won't be music. There won't be a speech. There won't be a warning.
just another ordinary afternoon that becomes a memory. And years later, when life gets loud, when responsibilities pile up, when childhood feels impossibly far away, you'll remember. Not the exams, not the trophies, not the things you thought mattered. You'll remember the people who waited, and you'll wish you'd thanked them while you still could. Some people leave footprints behind. Oliver left waiting places, and years later, people are still finding them.